Hello everyone, this is the IFC Architect speaking, and today we are doing the BlenderBim step-by-step beginner tutorial project. This is going to be part 2, dealing with 2D drafting. If you missed part 1, you can check it out on the channel, but if you want to just continue from there and just start with this video, you can download the model in the description. Okay. To install BlenderBim or Blender, check the installation videos in the description. Please update your BlenderBim to the latest build I'm using, found on my channel about page. My layout very simply has the properties on the right hand side and the outliner on the left hand side. Please make sure that you've got your snaps enabled, which just allow you to easily model things and move them around, and make sure that your move gizmo, this little object here, is selected. Control Z, Control Z. You can follow what I'm doing, the screencast keys in the bottom left. Okay, cool, let's get started. And we're good. Okay everyone, I think it's time to move on to the fun stuff with some 2D drafting, and we're just going to start with the basics. I'm going to activate my screencast keys again because I've turned them off somehow, and then we're going to go to the BIM documentation tab in the N panel, and we're going to click here on drawings, this little down arrow, plan, and my story that cuts it at 1 meter high. We press add drawing and you can see a camera view has been added into the scene. By selecting the camera, or just by clicking activate view, we can go into the camera. Then by clicking here on object data properties, the little green camera, we can go here to orthographic scale and change the size. So I'm just going to make it 10, and then I'm going to turn off my snaps so I can center it in the center of this camera view and turn them back on because they're quite essential. I'm going to change the drawing scale to 1 to 50. I feel like that's more appropriate. And then I'm also just going to change the size of the camera. So I'm going to probably do 1:200. Yes, just so it's more appropriate. Okay, cool. So now we have a camera view that's cut in here, and we can see it printed by just clicking on this print button, create drawing, which pulls up a perfectly good 2D drawing of this. So I'm just going to close that, and we're going to come back here. And then the next thing we're going to do is our dimensioning. So I'm going to come here and click viewport annotations. So this just lets us see all of these annotation elements, and we're going to start with the basics, which is the dimension line. So you can see it spawned a little dimension line, which we're just going to snap to this edge and bring it out. So I'm just going to bring this out GX by 400, and then we're just going to do normal dimensioning. We're just going to press GY to move it, EY to extend, and I'm going to do my opening. I'm going to grab this and say Shift D, which duplicates, put in X and do it another 400, and then we're going to do our room size, EX, EY, EY, and then we're just going to do Shift D, X, 400, the overall GY, which is just the basics, right? So I'm going to grab this again, Shift D, and I'm just going to say rotate Z minus 90, which just brings it here. I'm going to snap it there, and since there's no windows on this side, I'm just going to snap it to the edges of the spaces, GY 400, and we're just going to do an overall as well, Shift D, Y 400, or just the room sizes, EX, 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 and then we're going to do the overall. Over here, Shift D, Y 400, GY, GX, my bad. And then we're just going to bring it down to the bottom as well. Shift D, Y, GY minus 400. And this is already annotated at the top, so we're just going to do the walls. So GX, GX, EX, 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 sorted. And then we have our overall at the top there as well. And then we're just going to grab this guy, Shift D, X, snap him there, GX minus 400. Okay, perfect. And then we're just going to do again our openings, GY, EY, 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 EY. And we're going to do our rooms, Shift D, X minus 400. EY, 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 EY. Okay, cool. And that's dimensioning, basically. Okay, and then we're just going to do our other line work. We're going to, you see there's a little line button here, which has the little Suzanne monkey there. So that just spawns a normal line, which you can use for anything. For me, I think I'm just going to mark the run of the ramp using it, just so that it is a normal line. And then we also have a hidden line. And with this, I'm going to do the overhead of this little patio roof, this little entrance hall roof, GY. So I believe it is just in line with this, but I can check it in a second. So now we're in the camera view, but if I have this line selected still, and if I click 7, if I press 7 on the number pad, it'll just bring me into top view. So I can still see all my elements, and then I can just press tab because I have that line selected, and just line it up with the roof. And you can see most of it is lined up. And then we can press 0 to go back into the camera view, which is cut. And you can see we've adjusted the overhead line over there. So I've just used the hidden line as an overhead line for the roof. Okay, so we're going to move on to tags and annotations. So within the BIM documentation tab, in this little annotation box, we're going to click on the text button here. And then you see it's been added to the view. So I'm just going to press G to grab it and move it roughly over here. And we're going to label the ramp. So I'm clicking that, and then I will come here to object properties. And I'm just going to collapse all the things we don't need. And I'm going to come down here to IFC text. So you click enable editing text. And here where it says literal, this is what you want to type in. So I'm just going to type ramp. And there you go, my ramp is labeled. And you can see it's labeled there. And then we're going to just do another kind of text. We're going to do the leader line. The leader line is basically a text object with an arrow attached. So I'm just going to grab the vertex, and I'm going to say G, and I'm going to label this column, the steel column, and I'm going to move the text there, and I'm just going to say EX minus 300, so I can have a bit of an extra line there. And I'm going to select, make sure I've got that text selected, that leader text, and we're actually going to make this a little bit smart because it's currently a dumb text. So we're going to, here where it says IFC product assignments, we're going to click the little tool, pencil icon, we're going to click this eyedropper tool, and we're going to select this IFC column. So that creates a relationship between the text object and the column. We click this tick, and there's a relationship established. Then when we come here to IFC text, we can say enable text editing, and instead of typing column, what we can do is we can add in a value that searches for the name of the column. So all we need to do is go and type 2 squiggly brackets, name, and then 2 closing squiggly brackets. And what this does is it searches for it in the properties of the object. And when we say confirm, we tick this button for edit text. You can see it's been labeled column. Now we must also just adjust the box alignment here so that it happens from the right to the left instead of the left to the right. So when we print it, it will come out correctly. Okay, cool. And then another thing we can do with text boxes is we can make room labels. So I'll just click the text box again, and I'm just going to move this so it's in the center of this big office room. And I'm going to move it a bit higher. And I want to associate this with the IFC space that we created, this office space. So what I'm going to do is in IFC product assignments, I'm going to click the pencil again and use the eyedropper to select the IFC office in the outliner. We're going to tick that. And then I'm going to come to the IFC office, and I'm going to go to IFC object metadata. I'm going to collapse everything we don't need. And I'm going to come down here to IFC object quantity sets, QTO underscore space base quantities. We're going to click the plus button. And I'm just going to make sure, sometimes it changes the units here to meters to millimeters, which I set for meters for the squares. So I'm just going to change them back. And then we're going to go back to our IFC object properties. So we're going to go here and we're going to say guess all quantities, which is an estimator. And you can see here it's got a net and gross floor area of 9.5 meters. And then we can come back to our IFC text object, and I'm just going to expand this so you can see it. I'm going to collapse that, and I'm going to click enable text editing. And in here, I'm going to paste, because it's quite long, a little formula for searching values. So I'm just expanding it so you can read it. So essentially we're going to do the same thing. We're getting the name, and then \n is to create a new line. And then we're going to search for the space-based quantities. And then we put a full stop, a dot, and then we search for the net floor area because that's what we want. Then I've just got square meters, and I've got another space, and then I've got timber to represent the floor. And then here in box alignments, I just want this to be centered. So I'm just going to say middle, and I'm going to say edit text, and you can see it's been added. And you can see this has smartly gotten all the values from the associated object. So it says office 9.535 square meters and timber. And then we can do the same thing for our bathroom here. So I'm just going to say text object. I'm going to say GY to line it up with this one, and GX to center it on the room. And then here again, we're just going to associate it with the IFC space. I'm going to tick it. We go to the IFC space. We have to make sure that we add the space-based quantities, and we have to guess the values, or it's an estimator basically. And then we can come back to the text object. It's a bit hard to select there. There we go, text object. And then we can say in the enable editing text, we can just paste that exact same formula, which will be in the description below. You don't have to type this out. And over here where it says timber for the floor, I'm just going to say tiles. And I'm going to say middle. And that is updated. So you can see it says bathroom, 2.09 squares, and tiles. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is a door and window tag. So at present, the door and window tags don't really work. So what I've done is I've made an IFC building element proxy, which you can load into the file. So what we're going to do now is load that, and you can find that in the description, so you can load it as well. We're going to come here to the scene properties. We're going to go to the IFC project setup. We're going to IFC project library, and we're going to go and navigate to wherever you downloaded it. So I'm going to click on IFC library. We're going to come to, I'm going to go to my South African standards, but you're going to go wherever you downloaded this. I'm going to go to my annotations, and I'm going to go get to my 1 to 50 circle and square tags. I'm going to select the library file. You can see it's been loaded. So I'm just going to click in here until we get the rectangle and the circle tag. And on these paper clips, I'm going to click them so they're ticked, and they must be loaded into our file. So we're going to click tool. We're going to click BIM tool, and we're going to go to IFC building element proxy. And you can see I've got a rectangle and a circle tag. So I'm going to just use the rectangle tag for the door here, and I'm going to use the circle tag for the window here. So GZ, and then we're going to come here to IFC object properties, geometry representations, and we're just going to activate the 2D annotation. So you can just see it's a circle with a line through it basically. That's all it is. I'm going to select this one and also activate the 2D annotation. Then we're going to go back to BIM documentation, and we're going to go here and we're going to select text. You can see it spawns an object there. I'm going to press G. It's going to snap to the center there. I'm going to say GY25 to offset it. And what we're going to do is we're going to relate this object, and we're going to do the same thing to the door. And we're going to click on the door itself. And in IFC object metadata, we're going to come to IFC attributes. We're going to say edit. And here in tag, I'm just going to call this door 01. This is not technically the correct way to do this, but it is one way to do it. So I'm going to save attributes, and I'm going to select my text object again. I'm going to enable text editing. And here in the literal path, we're going to do another little formula, which again, you can copy from the description, but it's very similar. I'm just going to write new underscore backslash n, which is a new line, squiggle squiggle tag. So we're just searching for the tag, and squiggle squiggle brackets. And then here where it says bottom left, I'm just going to say middle. So it's centered, and we're going to say edit text, and you can see it says new \n D01. And then we're going to do the same thing for this window tag. So we spawn the text object. We're going to snap it, GY25. We're going to relate it to the window. And also just make sure that you tick this. I often forget. And then we're going to come to the window, object data, metadata, IFC attributes, edit, and we're going to call it window 01. Save the attributes. We select the text again. Going to collapse things we don't need. And then the exact same formula, new \n tag. And then you can see it says new \n window 01. And then just always make sure to edit the alignment. So I'm just going to say middle. And there we've added it. Okay, cool. So I'm just going to pull this back a little bit. And now we've added a whole bunch of annotations and tags. And we're just going to click this create drawing button over here. Don't have to restore. And you can see we've got a leader line that is correctly positioned, annotating the column. We've got a label for the ramp. We've got 2 smart tags that tell us the room labels. And we also have a window and door tag that look great at 1 to 50. Next, we're going to go on to loading our sanitary ware symbols. So if you've watched the 20 minutes BlenderBim plan tutorial, then you know what's happening. Again, all the resources can be downloaded in the description. So we're going to come here to our scene properties tab. We're going to the IFC project setup, IFC project library, and we're going to say select library file from this little file icon. You're going to navigate to wherever you downloaded it. For me, I'm going to the IFC library, IFC standards, furnishing set test, and make sure you get the furnishing set plan furnishing set.ifc. Select the library file. We're going to go into the IFC type project, and today I'm just interested in sanitary terminal type. So I just need the shower, the water closet, and the wash hand basin. So we're done with this, and then I'm going to come to the BIM tool, and I'm going to click on the tool, and I'm going to come here and select sanitary terminal type, and then you can see it's loaded the shower, the water closet, and the wash hand basin. So I'm just going to start with the shower. I'm going to zoom into the plan here, and I'm going to snap the shower to this corner. I'm going to say Shift A, and then we're going to come to IFC object properties. I'm just going to collapse everything we're not interested in. I'm going to geometry representations, and we're going to go to the annotation 2D representation so we can see where the drain is. I'm going to say rotate Z 90 so that it's in the correct position. And then I'm going to come down here. I'm going to select the water closet. I'm going to say add. I'm going to activate the 2D annotation. I'm going to say rotate Z 90. I'm going to say GZ because for some reason it's obscured. So it's in the same plane as that one. I'm going to say GX to move it over there. And then I'm going to come here and we're just going to add our wash hand basin. So we're going to say add. We're going to say annotation 2D. And then we're just going to snap it to that corner there. So it's quite a tight bathroom, but it works quite well. We have a bit of an issue here in that this door, if we check our 2D annotation, is swinging into the bathroom. So I'm just going to turn the tessellation back on. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete this door. I'm going to say XD. And we're going to replace that with a sliding door. So I'm going to come back here to scene properties. We're going to go to the IFC project setup. And we're going to the IFC project library. We're going to select this library file again. You can download this sliding door from the description below. All the resources are there. So I'm just going to go to where I have it saved into my standards, my doors, and I'm going to select the D800 sliding underscore. So I'm going to select that library file, IFC type product, door type, and then tick the paperclip so that it's ticked. Then we're done here. In the BIM tool, we can come to the door type and we can go to the 800 sliding door. Click the wall, make sure it's selected, and I'm just going to say Shift A to add it. And I'm going to just adjust it slightly, GY, so that it's further down to the centering on the bathroom. I'm going to say Shift G to regenerate its position. And then we're just going to click on the 2D annotation to check its slide. And you can see it's going in the opposite direction. So I actually want it to be on the inside of the bathroom. So I'm just going to select the tessellation again, and I'm going to say rotate Z 180. And I'm just going to move it GX into this position, and I'm going to say Shift G to regenerate again. I mean, the void didn't change, but it should be right. And I'm just going to check the 2D representation, and you can see it's on the inside and it can slide now. And then we're just going to come here and we're going to check that it works in the bin documentation, and we're just going to say create drawing. So there we go. We got a sliding door, we've got our shower, our wash hand basin, and our toilet. Cool. So now we're going to go onto our IFC grids. They're actually quite simple. So you just need to have the selection box selected. I'm just going to collapse all these things we don't need. And then you're just going to say Shift A, mesh. And then here is an IFC grid. So you can see it's added automatically here in the U and the V axes. And then you can see the grids themselves have been added here. So they're quite large. So we're just going to grab them and we're going to snap them to our relevant places, basically. So I'm just going to say GX and GX. And I'm going to say GY and GY. Okay, cool. And then we're just going to select them and we'll say tab. And I'm going to bring these in, GX. And I'm going to make sure they're further out than my IFC annotations, the dimension lines, I mean. So I'm just going to say 400. 400 is good spacing for 1 to 50. Ooh, I'm just going to press 0 so I can snap back to my plan view. I'm going to select them on this side, GX, GX minus 400. And then I select these guys, tab, GY, snap them there, GY, 400, and these guys, GY, GY minus 400. And then just to see them reflected in annotation view, you just need to say activate view again, and you can see the grids have been loaded. So that's pretty straightforward. The next thing we can go on to is the materials. So if you want to create a hatch pattern or anything like that, we just need to select the wall, for instance, and we're going to come to the IFC object properties. We're going to collapse the geometry, go back to the object metadata. We're going to collapse the class, everything we're not interested in, and we're going to come to the IFC object material. So here you can see it's got an inherited material and it's an unnamed IFC material layer set usage. So here, this is what we want to name, basically. So at the moment, it's unnamed. There's no name. So it will automatically cut as the default, which is the black. But if we type in here brick, for instance, so you can see that these walls all share the same material because they're a 200 thick wall. And we click on these create drawing button, you can see it's added a brick hatch pattern. So that's automatically loaded with the BlenderBim add-on when you download it. And you can also see our grid lines have loaded as well. They're a bit close, but I think it's fine. And then you can see our little internal wall is still black because it has a different material. So we can go back here and we can select the internal wall. And you can see it also says unnamed. And we're just going to change this to brick as well. I'm going to take that. I'm going to say create drawing. And there you go. We have brick all around. Okay, cool. Yeah, so if you want this to be different things, all you have to do is label it. So there's a list of automatically added materials. So another one is concrete. And we can just tick that. And we can just say create drawing. And you can see it's loaded it as concrete. But for now, I just want that to be brick. So I'm just going to call this brick. And we're going to tick it. You can create your own custom materials and hatch patterns, but I'm going to allocate that to a separate video because it requires some understanding of CSS. And there's your plan. The next video will cover elevations, sections, and details. If you found that interesting or useful, you can check out more at the OSArc community page. This was made using Blender, the BlenderBim add-on, which is powered by the IFC OpenShell, and the community that we're involved in is the OSArc community. I will provide links in the description, and you can check other videos to follow along. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.